You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Representative. I'm going to turn it over to the Vice Chair, Senator Flanagan.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. I have to say I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical of the governor's plan. Certainly we talk about equity, we want to talk about parity, we want to talk about reliance service. I come from an area where it takes 17 stops and over an hour and a half to get to Boston, and we have the least amount of service that anybody has in the state. And so I can't guarantee that we also pay the highest fares in the state to ride the T. So public transportation for us is like buying a car. That's the kind of payments that we make. This bill doesn't guarantee that we're going to have better service. It doesn't mean that we're going to get sort of a freeze in our rates. It doesn't mean that we're going to be able to get to work any better or any faster than it is. So we're essentially paying for everybody else again. And I think that's the concern, you know, coming from the Fitchburg line, coming from the constituents of Northwest County, where, quite frankly, it's still going to be cheaper for us to go to New Hampshire to buy gas when they're doing their 5, 5, and 5. And so that's the concern that we have, is that we can't guarantee this is going to go to all of the suburbs. We can't guarantee it's going to go to the lines, you know, 17 stops. If you want a scenic route, you can take the 720 out of Fitchburg and you'll have a scenic route. But none of this plays into what we need now. You know, so I'm skeptical.
Well, when you say that, Senator, what you need now, I assume, is better road and bridge programs than you need. I mean, we're putting a significant investment, I think you know, into the Fitchburg line to improve.
From the feds and the state, right?
So we're doing that, and I think some of that may even be stimulus money. So we're making that investment. And I mean, just a digression, because generally the door brought up stimulus money. We're trying to spend stimulus money strategically and regionally, and I know we have to do even a better job than we're doing in that, but it's not a solution, because I say to people, stimulus is like walking down the street and being poor and you find a $20 bill, and you'll have a great dinner tonight, but you're broke again tomorrow. So we can use it, it's good to have, it's not a long-term or even a medium-term solution. This regional equity plan that I talked about that returns an investment of the gas tax is going to enable me to know your priorities on road and bridge and to make sure that those things are happening in that district. I think when this investment in the Fitchburg line is finished, you will see maybe a less scenic, but hopefully a faster ride. So we are focused on it. It's a complicated system, and it's an old system. And we'd all be kidding ourselves, and I'd be kidding myself and you to say that any plan that you adopt and we propose makes everything perfect, because it won't. My job is to know what your priorities are, to hear them, and then to be as responsive as we can, because you all know your localities, and that's where I get my direction and my energy comes from the input I get from you all.
Thank you very much. Representative Vanessa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here this evening. I have two hopefully quick questions. The first question deals with the issue of reform. I guess what I'm looking for is what is being done currently and what is proposed in the governor's legislation that would address the issue of efficiencies as it relates to cost overruns and time overruns with some of the projects that we have going on across the state. And I'll give you a very quick example. In my district, I've had road and bridge projects that have slowed down traffic considerably, that have lasted 4, 5, 6, 7 years for a simple road and bridge project. And then when you ask the folks who are on site, who work for the state, what the issue is, you know, they then go through this litany of problems that exist, whether they be you know, quite often that they're, you know, the designers who put the plans together, and then the Mass Highway folks or whoever is out doing the road construction project, come to find out they run into some problems with the designs and with the plans, then have to go back to that person who's the low bidder for more work to then fix the project, which then leads to cost overruns because there then are more billable hours, etc. So I guess my first question is, what is being done in terms of reform or what is planned in terms of reform to reduce the cost overruns and the time overruns with some of these construction projects?
Well, one of the major features of the bill, Representative, and I appreciate what you say. By the way, I'm told, and we can verify this, that the completion time for projects at the Highway Department has improved significantly in the past 12 to 18 months, from a low, which is amazing, in the 20% to more like 70. So you may have gotten caught up before some of the new initiatives that the commissioners put into place took effect. So we are very interested in that. I am interested in that. We have an office in this bill of performance measurement. It's not a trivial office. It's designed to meet federal, what they call, and other states have what they call gray book standards. These are specific performance metrics that we can now impose on our folks at the Highway Department in terms of getting things done. Could we do more? Yeah, I'm very impatient as well. You know, we're still stuck, frankly, in an older 1970s style design, bid, build, procurement process that, frankly, I think handcuffs us as much as it was designed in the old Ward Commission days to ensure integrity and all of that. But, you know, it hasn't moved with the times. And you all, through the leadership of some of the people up here, have opened up opportunity for things like design build and more creative solutions. I think we need to move more in that direction to help solve some of these issues and to cut through some of the old ways of taking time and having to go back with the change order or the kinds of things that eat up time. So I'm with you on that, and I'd like, you know, in the context of this bill or another initiative, to tackle those issues, because they are important. And that goes to Representative Bowles' question of trust. The thing is sitting there and it's not getting done, well, why should I mean, I completely agree. And I can only tell you that in the 2 months I've been around, people know they have a secretary who's impatient, because I'm not going to tolerate it. More to the point, I want to find ways to solve it.
I had an intersection in the city of New Bedford that for 6 years was on the books to have lights put up. And the project took 6 years to put lights at a T-stop, basically, intersection. It was ridiculous. And then the last 6 months were because the utility companies wouldn't come out there to address the issue. My last question, very quickly, is the issue of tolls, particularly as it relates to the eastern Massachusetts tolls. There's obviously opposition from the Metro West and North Shore communities as it relates to the issue of tolls. But my question is, many of these communities, many if not all, have access either to the Green Line, the Blue Line, the MBTA bus system, or commuter rail. One of my communities, the city of New Bedford, has access to none of those. Yet we're looking to, the state's looking to move, to tear down the tolls and essentially spread that debt burden onto all the residents of this state through the implementation of a gas tax, or an increase in the gas tax. What would you say to constituents living down in my district, as it relates to, the very visible effect of moving, taking down tolls, removing tolls, and implementing or increasing a gas tax?
Here's what I'd say. First of all, in terms of Fall River to Bedford area, we do have and propose in this bill 3 cents for regional rail projects. So the priority that we have to bring commuter rail to the South Coast is embedded in this bill, because you do deserve the same kind of commuter rail service that folks in Haverhill and Lawrence have, and the same kind of commuter rail service that folks in Attleboro have. So that part is here. In terms of the tolls, they don't have access to the Blue Line in Winthrop, and they don't have access to rail in some other places. But even if they did, and I appreciate the point, I just think that not everybody can or even should necessarily be on transit. I'm a big fan of transit, but there are people who can do it, there are people who can't. We have not raised the gas tax in Massachusetts since the year 1991. We built the big dig. We paid for that, not because we raised the gas tax, because we didn't since 1991. The Turnpike Authority issued $2.2 billion worth of debt. That's one of the ways in which we paid for it. That's why they're bankrupt.